Hey everybody, welcome to the July Q&A for Star Power and our Patreon supporters. Hello everybody. I'm Michael Terracciano, if you don't know me already. My friends all call me Mookie. I'm the writer for Star Power. Garth is taking a vacation for this Q&A. He is off doing whatever the hell he wants, really, because he works like crazy on the comic. So this month it's just going to be me. I hope that's okay. Today is the last day of July, so we had to do this today or we're going to miss the deadline that we'd imposed. I guess, we could do it on August 1st and say it's July's, but we like to stay on schedule. Being prompt and honest is very important to us in our work ethic, and we want to just be genuine with everybody. So, yeah, if we miss a deadline, we miss a deadline, and that's on us to make it up. But we're in the deadline. This is July 31st. Garth is on vacation. I am taking care of the Q&A. So it's going to be a short one, mostly because we don't have Garth's added insight. I have the gift of gab, but not so much that I can talk by myself for an hour, maybe even a half an hour. I don't know. This might be a 5-minute one. This might be a half an hour one. This might be 30 seconds. I think we're past that anyway. Anyway, I am gabbing my head off. I hope everybody's doing okay. Again, thank you to our Patreon supporters who are supporting us very, very generously. We are so very grateful for your support. You guys are really helping us make Star Power feel really something special. I mean, it's special to us because we make it, but, a little validation in the form of, that sounds a little weird. Not validation, just the support. Not like monetary support makes anybody's support more valid than somebody else's. We meet a lot of people over the convention circuit who said, oh, I can't buy anything from you right now, but I really love the work and I still read it. That doesn't make someone who spends more money on us more valuable to us. Now, granted, everybody who supports Patreon is very valuable to us, and we're trying to give you your money's worth. You don't have to support anything, and we appreciate very much that you do. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I don't know. I might have a case of foot-and-mouth disease. I think I may have had it forever. Who knows? All right. So without wasting too much time, me just gabbing on about nothing, let's get to the questions. And let's just do this up. So let's just bring it up here in the corner. Our first question comes from Anna. Hello again, Anna. Always have very nice questions for us for these Q&As. Anna says, it's great that Garth is taking a break. I gather that he works like crazy on the comic. Speaking of taking breaks, what are some of your best and worst vacation memories? Best and worst vacation memories for me. I don't have any really bad vacation memories, thankfully. My family, we were very fortunate to have very pleasant vacations when I was growing up. That's when we took the most vacation. As you get older, you take less and less breaks, or, summer vacation goes away because you're just older and summer vacation is just not a thing anymore. My fondest vacation memories come from my parents taking my little brother and I every summer to Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania. First of all, that town is great. That town is fantastic. At least I remember, all of the streetlights are little Hershey Kisses. I don't know if they still have that anymore. But when I was a kid, you drove through the town heading to the park. All of the streetlights were topped with Hershey Kisses street lamps. Which, as a kid, you're going to like Chocolate Town. You see some of your favorite candy as like lighting fixtures. It's pretty freaking cool. But no, I have very, very fond memories of going to Hershey, Pennsylvania and Hershey Park with my parents growing up every single year. Every single year. My favorite roller coaster at the time was this roller coaster called the Sidewinder. And at the time, I was a little kid. I was afraid of going on the looping roller coasters. They scared me. I always thought I was going to fall out. So as a kid, the Sidewinder was my favorite because it went really, really fast to me. And it went almost completely sideways. And that was enough of a thrill for me to go sideways. Upside down, wasn't too thrilled about going upside down. But sideways, going really fast, oh, it was the biggest thrill in the world. And, geez, so many other rides. One of those, something called the cyclotron. That was a fun one. It was one of those centrifugal rides that just spun in a circle and you just got stuck against the wall. That was a load of fun. I came off of that thing so sick so many times, but I couldn't help myself. I had to just get on it because it was fantastic. So growing up, every single year we did that. And then, as my brother and I got older, we stopped going because we were, too old and too cool to go to Chocolate Town, USA, to go on all the chocolate rides or roller coasters or what have you. A few years ago, a bit of a family reunion was planned for Hershey, Pennsylvania, and me, my brother, all my cousins, all my older cousins, all of us who had been going to Hershey Park from when we were kids, we all got together. We all got together and did it. My lamp is acting funny. We all got together and did it again, only now we're older. And there was a certain amount of, one, it was nostalgic as hell, and that felt really, really great. Never mind how much nostalgia sells nowadays, but just the feeling of nostalgia is fantastic. And you're sharing it with a ton of other people who experience the same thing from their youths and their family. That's a bonus. Not all families get to have that kind of a time together, and we do it very, very rarely now that all my cousins or I are much older. But that was something else. We were all much braver than we were, and we outdid our parents. And because, when we were little, we had to go on these big, scary rides with our parents. Now our parents are much older. They're too old and tired to go on these rides. So it's just me and my cousins just going on all these rides. When we went there, they'd installed a new roller coaster. I forget what it was called. I forget what it was called. But it was one of those crazy, insane roller coasters that goes from 0 to 70 in 2 seconds. I don't know how it works, but it just rockets you 0 to 70 in 2 seconds. And I went on this thing with my cousins, and it's a looping roller coaster too. So I had to get over my fear. I figured I'm my late 20s at the time. I might as well get over my fear of looping roller coasters. And now I'm addicted. I think next time I go to an amusement park, that's all I'm going to do. That's all we did at Hershey Park for this reunion, was just go on everything looping. But this 0 to 70 in 2 seconds, maybe even less, was crazy. And I found out something about myself going on one of these things. So the first time, you get strapped in like crazy. They had me take my glasses off and leave it in a cubby at the front gate because it could just fall off my face and then I wouldn't be able to see. So I'm glad they have that kind of restriction, that kind of safety measures. But there was this announcy voice through the speakers, you're about to go from 0 to 70 in 2 seconds. Prepare for the ultimate thrill ride thingy. I'm never going to forget this. The announcer voice goes, now get ready. Here we go. And on go. You are going 70 miles an hour. Not a buildup. You are just going 70 instantly. And my reaction is just to scream my head off every single time. And that's the most incredible part, is that we must have gone on that thing 7 times over the course of the weekend, because there were no lines either. We went an off-season part of it, and it was raining, so nobody was around. So we just kind of went over and over again. And every time I knew it was coming because there was a signal. Now get ready. Here we go. And on go, I knew I was going to be going 70. Every fucking time I screamed my head off. Because you're suddenly going 70 miles an hour. It's the weirdest feeling. And it's thrilling. And even when you know it's coming, you're going to I'm going to scream my head off. Ah. I can't remember the name of it. It's the only one in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So if you ever find yourself in Hershey Park and that roller coaster is still around, do yourself a favor and get on it if the lines aren't too long, because you'll learn something about yourself and how you react to suddenly going 70. Another fond vacation memory was with Alyssa, my wife. Her family goes to upstate New York every year, and now that I'm in their family, they have me along. They can't get rid of me. But a very fond vacation memory I have there. 1 year in upstate New York, out in the country, very little light pollution. So the stargazing is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So when I was getting into stargazing, I brought my telescope last couple of years, and I spotted my first galaxy in the middle of the night out in upstate New York with just me and my telescope. It was the Whirlpool Galaxy in the Big Dipper. Oh my God! I mean, my telescope isn't very good. Well, I mean, it's awesome, but it's not very powerful. Like you won't see pictures of the Whirlpool Galaxy like you do from like the Hubble telescope or anything else on the internet. It's like a little gray image. You kind of have to squint at a little to know that you maybe have seen it. But that was my first galaxy that I saw. That wasn't ours. The thrill of knowing that I was in clear skies enough that I was looking through space and time at I get speechless just thinking about that moment. Everybody was asleep. I couldn't wake anybody up. And even if I did, they would have been just squinting in the dark and mad at me in the cold of upstate New York, middle of the night. But just that thrill of seeing the Whirlpool Galaxy. And then I turned my telescope toward the Andromeda Galaxy, and I wondered how I'd missed it all this time. That thing is huge, very easy to see in a telescope, even binoculars, very, very easy to see. But bringing my telescope up to upstate New York and showing off the stars to my other family, Alyssa's side of the family, because there were some young kids there too who had that wonder of seeing something really, really new. Like, yeah, they'd look up and see stars, but they'd never seen double stars. They'd never seen galaxies. They'd never seen star clusters. They'd never seen the stuff I was showing them, which is still pretty basic stargazing stuff. It's not like I'm not bragging to be a fantastic stargazer who's finding hard to find gems. I was looking at the basic stuff that any basic stargazer, astronomer, what have you, can look at. But it was the feeling of that collective wonder for them for never having seen it before, and wonder for me for having the chance to show them. Thank you, my phone, for having a chance to show them what I was looking at. It was thrilling, absolutely thrilling. Those are two of my more fond vacation memories. Bad vacation memories, again, I don't really have them. If anything bad happened on a vacation, I must have forgotten it, which really is kind of how you should live your life. If it's trivial enough to forget, just move on and remember the cool stuff about your vacations, because that's the stuff that's going to stick with you. That's the stuff that you're going to want to recreate. Well, speaking personally, it's going to want to be the stuff that I want to recreate when I take my little boy out for vacations. Will I take him back to Chocolate Town? Probably. Will I buy him chocolate as a vegan who doesn't like buying milk products, and Hershey puts milk into all their chocolate? Hershey! Huh? That's another story. But, maybe I'm a hypocrite for taking him to the park and supporting the kid. I don't know. It gets complicated, and call me a hypocrite if you like. I'm taking my kid to Hershey Park, when he's old enough to appreciate it and not get too scared on the rides. Not the 0 to 71. And by that time, it'll be like 0 to 100, or like a space. I don't know. Let's move on to our next question. And last question. So this is going to be a short one. They don't all have to be hour-long talky fests with me and Garth. Our second question comes from Hikari. Hello again, Hikari. What do you consider your personal strengths and weaknesses? How do you go about developing a plot? Do you feel confident with it, or is there a lot of second guessing? My personal strengths and weaknesses when writing a comic. I assume that's what we're talking about here, not me as a man. That's a whole other discussion. Personal strengths and weaknesses when writing a comic. I feel very, very, very confident with character development. Whether or not I'm any good at it is up to you guys. And, you know, what you think of how the characters I write change for better or for worse over time. But after 11 years doing Dominic Deegan, and a lot of people came to me saying that they loved the character development in that series, I feel confident that I know what I'm doing. I feel confident that I can take a character on a entertaining journey, a believable one that I believe people can relate to, and if not relate to, be interested in. I feel like I'm good at that. I've made a generally good living doing that over the last 10 or so years. 13 years now. Wow. So I think I'm pretty good at that. I consider that my strongest thing. My characters are my strongest, are my strength. Weaknesses? Well, I'm not as good an artist as Garth. I'm not as good an artist as so many people out there who are either who are just getting, even ones who are just getting started, are much better than I ever was drawing Dominic Deegan. So art was very much my weakness. Doing Dominic Deegan. I don't have to worry about that in Star Power because I don't draw it. Yeah, I turned into a different person when I teamed up with Garth, and I got to stop drawing. Because when I was going around conventions trying to, you know, drum up support and advertise Dominic Deegan, I was always kind of shy when it came to like promoting my stuff. I'd always hand out like books, show off the books, and like, oh, I hope you enjoy it. It's the best I can do. You know, I hope you really like it. Not as good as some other people's around here, but I hope you like how it looks. But now that I'm teamed up with Garth, I'm shoving this book in people's faces. I am so arrogant. Like, look at it! Look how awesome this book looks! Can you see it? Look at his artwork. It's amazing. So I'm arrogant, I feel, for Garth when it comes to his artwork. I don't brag. I mean, granted, I don't brag about how well it's written because I'm not that different. But when it comes to my pride in the work, it's much different now because Garth has taken up what I thought was my biggest weakness in making comics, and it's just. I mean, hell, you guys have seen Garth's artwork. How could you not get arrogant a little, knowing that, you know, if your name was attached to his artwork, how would you get a little full of yourself? I am a little. Like, that's my name. That character was made by me, and he drew it. So yeah, writing weaknesses. I don't do dark and gritty very well. I tried it once or twice in Dominic Deegan, maybe a few times, because I felt like I had to, and I felt like that's not necessarily true. I wanted to flex as many muscles as I wanted to try, since I knew I had people reading the work. Give it a try. Like, people aren't going to want comedy gag-a-days all the time. Let's do something a little darker. Let's see what I can do. And it's not my strength. Dark and gritty is not my genre. It's not a bad genre. Some people do it very, very well, and those people are to be applauded. But I tried it. I don't feel like it was some of my best work, but I don't feel the need to go back and work on that weakness because we're not obligated to do dark and gritty. No one's paying us to make a dark and gritty comic. We're making the comic we want to make. So we're playing to our own strengths because we are, self-employed. We're our bosses here. So we don't have to do what we think we're weak at. Now, if it was something that if my characters were weak, I don't think they are. But if my character development was weak, that is something I would actively work on. But I feel like my weakness is something I don't have to necessarily work on because I don't have to. And not being a dark and gritty writer, I don't think it lessens you at all. You just don't have to write dark and gritty stuff. And people who want dark and gritty stuff can go find it. There's plenty of other material out there. We do action and adventure and comedy. That's ours. Another part of that question was, how do you go about developing a plot? Two different parts of this question. Two different answers to this question, because I used to approach it in two different ways. When I was doing Dominic Deegan, I knew where a story was going to begin. I knew where a story was going to end. And then I just kind of made it up in the middle as I went along, as long as I knew I had to hit the points I wanted to hit to get to the ending. And that worked for me because I was doing the comic daily. It kept me interested in a sort of like what's going to happen next sort of frame of mind. It kept me interested. It kept me motivated. Can't do that in Star Power because Garth wants to know what kind of story he's getting into. He wants to know what kind of a plot, what kind of a comic he's attaching his name to. So I have to be a lot more. I have to be a lot more forward thinking with the plot of Star Power plots. I was with Dominic Deegan. I always knew where a story was going to end. So I was thinking far ahead, but this is thinking forward thinking every step of the way. So Garth doesn't approve a storyline until he sees, that's my son, if you guys can't hear him. He's hungry, I think. Hello, Lido. Yeah, so I have to consider things a lot more carefully when plotting out Star Power. I have to consider every page. I have to consider a lot. There's a lot more planning with Star Power. Garth has to approve everything. There have been instances where he's said a few pages weren't up to par, and I've had to change them. And he was right. He didn't just say these suck, change them. He said, okay, this is not what I was expecting. I see what you're going for, but I don't think this is right. Maybe you should try this. And he's been absolutely right. So plotting out Star Power is totally different than Dominic Deegan. And it was important to change that up. When you're starting a new project creatively, and it's your own thing, I think it's important to try new things, to try new approaches, to try things that you weren't normally doing, to flex your muscles creatively. Otherwise, if you keep doing the things the same way all the time, there's no room for growth. You don't find out what your weaknesses are. If you don't try writing that dark and gritty story, you won't know that it's your weakest genre, So, try, going from, I will make it up as I go, as long as I know to hit point B being the ending. This is like, okay, Garth, this page will do this page will do that. Okay, this thing I'm dropping right here, this is going to be a hint to what happens in a later issue that we're going for with this in this storyline, okay? So there's a lot less surprises. There's a lot less, for us anyway. With Dominic Deegan, I surprised myself constantly in so much knowing that I wasn't entirely sure what each panel, what each strip was going to be like from day to day. We hope we've surprised you guys a couple of times. But as far as surprising ourselves, that element is not in the, it's in a different part. It's in a different part of the creative process, which again, we're trying something new. Do you feel confident with it, or is there a lot of second guessing? Garth is my editor. He is there to second guess me. and I'm very grateful for it. He once caught 12 bad pages. I had to redo the first part of issue 3 of Star Power in the Ninth Wormhole because it sucked. And he was absolutely right. I was not upset that he told me to change it. I was upset with myself for getting it so wrong the first time. So I'm usually pretty confident when it comes to my plots, but Garth is my editor. He is a absolutely necessary part of this process. Absolutely. Otherwise, the first part of issue 3 would have been terrible otherwise. And that's what makes us a good collaborators, is that we're not afraid to tell the other person, like, this is not good. Here's why. And that's a very important part. Like, here's why. I know what you're trying to go for, but this is why this choice would be better. And we respect each other more, very much enough to, respect those critiques, take them for what they are, for they are trying to make the comic the best we can make. And that back and forth so far has, to my knowledge, made the best comic we can make. We are always moving forward. We're always trying new things. This next storyline that we're working on, now that the Search for Black Hole Bill has come to an end, the next storyline that we're working on, we are very, very excited for it. We are super, super excited for it. Garth loves the first issue of it, issue 11 in the grand scheme of things. But the first chapter of this next storyline, I won't tell you what it is because that's part of the surprise. But no, Garth is there to second guess me, and if I can't back up what he's second guessing, then I know there's a problem, and that problem needs to be fixed. And so far, those fixes have led to the comic that you see, and you guys seem to really like it so far. So Garth is going to keep second guessing me until he gets tired of me. Well, that's it. This is a short one this week. Thank you, Anna and Hikari, for your questions. I hope just me talking for however long this has been entertaining. We'll post the August Q&A thread very soon. I'm going to be going on vacation myself with no telescope this year because we have a baby now. What do? You don't take your telescope and you bring all the baby stuff. That's what you do. So thank you guys again for your support. Thank you for your questions. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. See you next month.